Okay, Okada, thank you so much for being with us, and tell us about your setting for chaplaincy. Where are you serving, and tell us about your context.
Yes. So my organization, the organization I belong to, it's called the Visiting Nurse Service of New York, and it's a very large nonprofit organization of home care covering all 5 boroughs of New York City, and providing various services. And the section I'm belonging to is called the Hospice and Palliative Care. And we have about 1,500 plus patients in the entire area of New York City. So we provide medical interdisciplinary clinicians. We provide the support for patients and families. Many of them, most of them, they are at their homes because we are home care. So it's a home hospice. But we are also working with some hospitals and nursing homes, assisted living facilities in the city also.
Okay, great. And what are things that are important for training a chaplain specifically for hospice and for hospice care and palliative care that would be different than the rest of the chaplaincy landscape?
So consistently facing the needs of dying patients, so-called, those patients in their end of life, it requires a certain sensitivity and skills. But CPE covers kind of everything. So that's where maybe during the interview period, we may ask, how was your experience of attending the bedsides of dying patients? And just, that kind of open question to start with. Tell me about some cases of your experience of those dying patients. And we go from there. Some people really take it as calling, or some people really drawn to that. Right now, one of our spiritual care counselors, she goes back to seminary and then getting more education and specializing in chaplaincy, end-of-life chaplaincy. So some people really feel drawn to end-of-life care, and other people, after they start CPE, first or second CPE units, to really experience various areas of like a diverse, different areas of specialty in chaplaincy, working in the hospital. Like me too, like during CPE, I was assigned to all different kind of floors. So that diverse experience really good, expose you to different different areas of specialties. In that process, if that person feels really drawn to like, wow, this is a profound area, I'm more interested in end-of-life care, hospice care, then I can tell that passion or calling in the way the person describes the experience of attending dying patients.
In addition to the importance of CPE, board certification, and all the credentialing around palliative care and hospice care for chaplains who are operating in that landscape, what do you think is important in terms of what happens in, say, theological education institutions or other spaces where they're thinking about, what do we need for training people to be hospice chaplains?
That's right. So I talk from my own personal experience as a graduate of a Union Theological Seminary in New York City. Mm-hmm. That seminary has one very, extensive course called, I think, Death, Dying, and Bereavement, something like that. Yeah. So that covers the area of death and dying, plus this grief support, bereavement. That scope, I studying the history and concepts of philosophy and all types of support system, including the training of chaplains. And so that kind of comprehensive class or course focusing on death and dying, that can be very encouraging. And then the students can take it out of initial interest and then exposed to this field. And then some people solidifies that calling, like, yeah, this is what I want to pursue. Yeah. Or other people may say, I'm still called to serve the church or those faith community. But then in my service to my congregation, I really need this skill.
Great.
Then the person says, I have to take CPE, yeah, to really learn the skill. And then some people switch from this calling to church and faith community to like, wait a minute, maybe I'm called to end of life chaplaincy.
That's great. And I've heard you say previously that research literacy is important and is a distinguishing characteristic for you in terms of when you are choosing candidates and making hiring decisions, bringing people into CPE programs, that research literacy. Say a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a trend of chaplaincy in this country, especially as a board certified chaplain under APC. That's APC's emphasis on the importance of research literacy. And then that's not just a skill beneficial to patients and families, and then not just beneficial to just on filling up ongoing education, required ongoing education for the chaplains, but then more importantly, through the research, we really prove collectively to the government and how can I say, those agencies and organizations responsible for fiscal budgets, like supporting the chaplaincy, to really realize how, in a concrete term, how chaplaincy is affecting the patient's sense of well-being, or really alleviating the suffering. And then, of course, the research evidence is there. So we do say have the field evidence-based care, and those that's clinically the area of nursing and social work, and all disciplines are geared toward evidence-based care.
Okay, Okada, thank you so much for giving us this perspective on some of the leading important assets for for educators and who are training chaplains for palliative care and for hospice, and for those thinking about moving into the field. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.